Today, every day, small cap investors visit Agoracom knowing this is the day to discover the world's next great company, to have their dreams come true. That's why I take to the open road, to find them, to tell their stories, to engage them, to bring them to life, because they want to connect with you from your office, your phone, your home, anywhere. Agoracom, find your dream.
Welcome to Beyond the Press Release, a production of Agoracom, as we take the time to speak with small cap executives right after they put out important news. And guess who we've got back, because he's always putting out important news? Peter Pascali, CEO of PyroGenesis Canada, the sweetheart company of the Toronto Venture Exchange right now, trading on the venture on the stock symbol PYR, for our friends in the US under PYRNF, and for our friends in Europe on Frankfurt under 8PY. For those of you who are new to the story, and that is going to be a lot of you, because a lot of people are watching are shareholders who have been with the company through thick and thin and now celebrating all together, but also a lot of new investors. So for those of you who are new, quick 20-second intro. PyroGenesis is a multiple TSX Venture 50 company. They're the world leader in advanced plasma processes. We'll explain what that is in a minute. But the bottom line is they're achieving global success on multiple applications of their technology with some of the world's biggest companies and organizations. For example, just this year, they announced a $25 million contract for their technology being used in one of the biggest high-tech aluminum smelters in the world, or at least a group of smelters. Their technology is being used on U.S. aircraft carriers, the most expensive real estate in the world. So imagine the due diligence it takes to have your technology on an aircraft carrier. And their titanium powders for advanced 3D printing have already received major orders from and interest from the world's biggest companies, and has also been nominated Materials Company of the Year at the 3D Printing Industry Awards a couple of times already. Much more going on, but that's a summary. Peter, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, George. Thanks for having me back. It's good to be here. Really good.
It's great to be here, isn't it?
It's good. Yeah, it's really good.
Well, look, the press release we're talking about today, I'm going to read the headline. PyroGenesis announces second quarter results, net income $5.2 million, gross margin 60%, earnings per share 4 cents per share just for the quarter. So before we do a deep dive into those numbers, Peter, because those are great numbers, how good are you guys feeling as a company? How are you guys all feeling as shareholders? How's the morale over at PyroGenesis?
The morale here, George, is over the top, as you can imagine. There's significant validation within the marketplace itself, but with our clients, with our potential clients. Everybody is on cloud nine for sure.
Let's talk about the numbers.
Yep.
And more importantly, let's talk about going forward, because for the first time, you've provided real forward-looking statements as to where the company is going.
Yeah.
You signed that massive contract. We know that millions of dollars came in, but there's only $2.1 million on the revenue of the $7 million or so that you've collected. Maybe you can explain to everyone that discrepancy there.
So our numbers are really interesting, George, this particular quarter, because we were profitable, significantly profitable.
Sure.
But what's interesting is we did this during COVID. I mean, during the April, May, and June, it was when it was all locked down. So we managed to pull this off during COVID. Not that we had any doubts, but I think some people should take note of that. The other thing is the revenues don't speak to the U.S. Navy contract that we've been speaking about. It doesn't speak to any torch deals. It doesn't speak to anything from additive manufacturing. And we managed to post these particular numbers.
That's what I want to ask you. I actually want to ask you exactly that.
Yeah, so within the revenues that you're asking about, there's only $1.8 million in the revenues attributable to that Drossrite project, where we press release we brought in $7 million.
Right.
And the reason for that is that, as I said in the past, we have to recognize revenue based on percent complete. So we're only allowed to recognize right now $1.8 million of that 7 we brought in, which means that we've already collected something that's going to be brought into revenues later on. It actually is on a liability in our balance sheet, which is really weird, George, but I look at that liability as guaranteed future revenues. so to speak.
Yeah, it was because for everyone at home, you've collected the cash.
Yep.
So you until you recognize it has to sit as a liability, because technically you might have to give it back if you don't do the work. But you already know you're doing the work, and you're just going to move it over to the income side.
But George, we don't, on that liability, our client thinks that they paid based on a particular hurdle. So it's not like a telephone bill. If something should happen, they come knocking on the door as a creditor. That's considered to be work done by our client. Anyway, that's another story.
Right. Yeah.
But the balance of that product, that $25 million plus deal, which is coming in over the next year, I mean, it's going to come in over the next year. So the next few quarters look really, really great.
And let's remember that $25 million contract can actually turn into a $55 million contract over time, but that's a little further in the future than we want to talk about today. But you're firing on all gears. So let's look forward.
Yeah.
Q3. So Q2, you did 4 cents. You've reported that. Q3, you're estimating you're going to exceed 6 cents. So I'm assuming you're using that as a comfortable number that you're going to get to. And for the full year, you're saying you're going to exceed 10 cents. Well, that's for sure, because in Q2, if you got 4 cents, in Q3, if you got 6 cents, you're at 10 cents already, not including whatever you're going to bring in Q4. So you played it safe there, but
George, let me just so I don't want to pull the wool over anybody's eyes.
Yep.
The Q2 had 4 cents.
Yep.
But because we had a negative Q1 for the 6 months, it's 2 cents.
Got it. Okay. Got it.
2 cents and 6 is 8.
Got it. Okay. So that's why you're still saying you're going to do more than 10 for the year.
Yeah.
So you already answered the question. So let's go through them. Those numbers are just based on current agreements you've announced and business the company's won. So let's go through, if you don't mind, just a quick overview here of 3 of the big initiatives you've got on the table. First one is the iron ore pelletization. There you've got client A, client B, client C. You got 3 big prospects there. In the last press release, you announced various stages. Where are you at with those? If you can talk a little bit about where you are with each of those potential clients.
Okay, I have to be careful, George. I have to, I don't know how much. I know what I've said publicly, so I have to be careful. All I'll say is that everything is going really, really well for not just iron ore pelletization, but for that particular industry, that iron ore, that our torches application to the iron ore pelletization challenge, and also other industries is going just as well or better than what we said, and nothing has fallen off the rails. Not one client or prospective client has fallen off the rails.
And you can't blame me for asking, because I can almost feel people at home saying, ask Peter, where are those iron ore pelletization? And as a reminder, each potential torch, if you make a successful sale, is worth about $3 million in revenue. And you've got quite a number of torches on the table as potential sales from your last press release, correct?
Correct. Correct, I think.
Yeah.
If you say so, George.
Tunneling. So let's talk about, that's the iron ore pelletization. Going great. Good to hear. Tunneling. How is the tunneling side, the tunneling customers going?
You're making it very difficult today for me, George. I gotta, that's going well too. It's going very, very well. That hasn't fallen off the rails at all. And COVID hasn't affected it. We're very happy with it. I think they're very happy with us.
And the last big contract that we all know about that's out there, hasn't been finished yet, but you've announced is imminent because you've been advised by the U.S. Navy for 2 more aircraft carriers. How is that coming along? And devil's advocate, is that potentially in danger because you have U.S. elections around the corner and you might have a new administration coming in? And is that in danger, or is that still something you're confident is going to be signed off on?
In terms of contracts not being signed off on, I don't think there's a danger there because it's already in progress. I mean, they're building the aircraft carrier, 2 of them. They started last January, 18 months ago or so.
Got it.
They already started with the long lead items. So there's always a risk. I mean, in any government contract that the budget will be reappropriated or they'll stop. But it goes, I think, beyond politics. It's a strategic military decision to build these two. I don't think this is at risk.
Right. So the aircraft carriers are already being built to spec. Pyro is going to be on there. So I have to ask because listen, I want to play.
So what I keep on saying that it's imminent, it's close, it's here, it's there. It's the bane of my existence is trying to. I'm just going to go out there and say, test the opposite theory. I'm going to say it's way, way, way out there, George, because then it'll get done. It seems like whatever I say, it's the opposite. No, but in all honesty, we're in the final moments of dealing with that contract, and we'll be working on it very shortly, I think. Yeah.
You've got two other lines of the business. Let's start with Olber. Let's start with the 3D printing, Olber and Duval, because that one is a relationship. But you did say in the press release that you were going to accelerate that relationship and give it a significantly more attention because, hey, naturally, you guys were really focused on these other big wins.
Yeah.
What's the status of Olber Duval, your 3D printing partner in Europe, and where do you think it's going to move to?
Yeah, that one in HPQ, we're allocating a lot, accelerating both because they're at a position where we think we can. We're in a position where we think we can accelerate them. With respect to Olber and Duval and that whole additive manufacturing, processing powders for additive manufacturing. What's key to understand is, and something that we did not know at the very beginning, but I have actually conveyed it to the marketplace in various press releases, is the fact that once you get an order from an OEM or through Olber Duval, the production line is locked down. You cannot change your production line. You can't move that piece of equipment 2 inches. It is locked in. And given the improvements we've made to the process, we've decreased capital costs and we've increased production rate to unheard of production rates. I think we announced something north of 25 kilograms an hour, where other people in the marketplace, as far as we know, have only press released 12 to 13 kilograms on a good day, where we can do 25 with our eyes closed and do it cheaper per kilogram than the old rate. So that was so significant an advancement that we wanted to incorporate that into the process before it's locked down. So then we did that, and that took some time. And obviously that was not something that we had anticipated when we got into this relationship over Duval. But once everybody realized the implications to the bottom line, everyone was in agreement. Let's make sure we get this right, put it in the production line. Now, we've had OEMs come through our facility, look at what we're doing, and they're extremely, extremely impressed. They haven't seen anything, well, they claim they haven't seen anything like it. So as we're now putting the final touches on the production line, and we expect that will be becoming front and center in terms of events that we can press release in short order.
So the 3D printing side, Peter, really, even though Olber Duval was several months ago, just at the in 2019, that hasn't really kicked in terms of numbers yet.
Absolutely not. Hasn't at all. Has not kicked in terms of numbers.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
And you've also got a North American OEM. So you've got Olber Duval exclusive in Europe.
Yeah.
So the 3D printing side is going so well that you've also got a North American OEM. What's the status of that relationship with them?
They're just waiting for us to finish off our production line, and they've mentioned to us that they want us to be one of their suppliers. So very exciting times for us.
Wow. So
I think
everything else that's going on, you've got the 3D printing side that's going to start kicking in as well.
Yeah. So it's important, George. I know that we were, sometimes what happens is you want to sometimes continue going down a certain path because you told the whole world we're going down this particular path, and then all of a sudden you see you can make an improvement, and so it delays things. And I can see how CEOs want to say, "Oh my goodness, if I delay it, people are going to be disappointed." But the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, you're going to be a hell of a lot better off. I mean, materially better off by waiting a moment, making the improvement,
Sure.
and coming out. And sometimes it takes a little bit of understanding from everybody, even from even from the OEMs, who originally were very excited and then had to wait, and over to Val and our investors. But it's the best thing that we could have ever done.
And it takes the confidence of a Greek CEO to be able to avoid that temptation, to do it the right way. Take the all kidding aside, you avoid the temptation, wait a little longer, do it the right way, and your company's going to be rewarded. So that side looks like it's going amazing. So here is the last leg of Pyro that I see right now.
Yeah.
All your applications have had major global wins. We've talked about this. They've had major global wins. The last leg is HPQ Silicon, naturally, because that's the most recent one, right? And there you talked about you're happy about the relationship, and you're also going to be accelerating that and giving it significant attention. What's the status of HPQ? Where is that right now? I know we're going to be talking to Bernard, but you are the technology partner here. I'm going to assume, Peter, PyroGenesis has so many great things going on. You don't have the time to waste. You and I are friends, and you could love me, but if I come to you with an idea that just doesn't have your real commercialization potential, you're going to say, George, let's have dinner together, but I can't waste my time and resources. So I'm presuming that's where you're at. So
yeah, you nailed it on the head, George.
Prospects for the HPQ partnership.
So you nailed it on the head with respect to HPQ or any other relationship we get into. We definitely don't have time to waste or dedicate to things that are not, in our opinion, got a high probability of success and repeat business. And HPQ right now, I'll let Bernard, who runs HPQ, speak to the specifics. It's not me to speak to the specifics.
Sure.
But I can tell you that we're extremely excited. We're extremely excited about the battery space that he's in. And yes, we're a huge investor in HPQ. So from an investor's perspective, also, we're very happy with what's happening at the company. I have absolutely no criticism with HPQ at all. We're very, very happy to be a shareholder and to be doing this with them.
On the balance of probabilities, Peter, from what you're seeing, because obviously you have a bit of an inside track, levels of interest, and all those kind of things. The balance probabilities, are you pretty confident that HPQ is also going to achieve its, big commercial application success as well? Do you have much doubt about it? And again, the balance probabilities, I can't guarantee anything.
Well, I won't talk about probabilities or that. I don't think I can do that, but I can tell you that given our strategy of not getting involved in things that don't make commercial sense, we're still there in a big way.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. Last question.
Sure.
All this going on, you about 9 months ago, you unveiled to the world that you were seriously considering a strategy of spinning out the company into different divisions so they can each get their own value, their own maximum value, because as a conglomerate, you're going to run into that problem where how do you value the 3D? How do you value the iron ore, plasma torch, all of that? How do you value HPQ, all those things? Where are you in terms of, you had mentioned spinouts and uplists? I mean, what does the events of the last
I've always talked to that in terms of what just makes common sense under the circumstances. And it may make common sense then, and it makes common sense now to pursue those strategies, continue to pursue those strategies. Given our market capital right now and our share price right now,
$100 million.
Yeah, and it gives us a lot of hurdles have been removed. So that is something that I think, if you're asking me if it's still a consideration or has it is no longer consideration because of something, no, it's more so than ever before. And now we have the runway seems to be cleared to a certain extent, and all in due course. It has to be timed right as well, because we know a little bit about what's happening in the future. We know how things may be lining up, if they line up properly. So there's timings associated with that as well. And to answer your question,
that's always a good thing, right? If you're waiting,
it's always a good thing. It's always a good thing.
More shoes to drop in order to have the most advantageous spin out, then that's fantastic news for everybody. I mean, That's great. And I noticed you mentioned, you kind of slipped in one word into the press release that I haven't seen before. You were talking about, as a result of all this success, it just accelerates thoughts around spinouts, and then comma acquisitions, and close bracket. I was like, hey,
Yeah.
I've never seen that before. We've never talked about that before. Are acquisitions on the table, and how can they be? I'm going to play devil's advocate, given the fact that you are hitting global commercial success on such a specialized technology. Who else is even in your field that you could even look at? But obviously there's something you're looking at, so I'm going to question you.
Well, there's all sorts of vertical, horizontal, there's all sorts of options that are available to every company in the world in terms of acquisitions. When we were around $20 million market cap, George, I had, let's say, 20 tools in my toolbox. At 800 million, I've gone from 20 to 800 tools in my toolbox. And my background's in finance. My background's, I did mergers, acquisitions,
Sure.
how I grew up. So I'm very well aware of the dangers of doing an acquisition. They can destroy a company. They can destroy a company overnight. Although on paper the acquisition looks like it's made in heaven, it can destroy a company. However, the right acquisition, the right time, with the right group of managers can accelerate the growth of a company and put it into another field where it has significantly more advantages. But it's something that has to be done really carefully, well thought out. And I think my allusion there is that we now are in a position where acquisitions might be of interest if it's the right one in the right place in the right field to secure what we're already doing even further. So I don't want people to get alarmed by it. I mean, there's some companies that grow big and they just start
nobody get alarmed by that. It's exciting.
And all of a sudden it's like I'm not going to make any comparisons about anyways, but it's you can just choke on them. So that's not where we're nowhere. We're not drunk. We're not going to go do that type of stuff. No, it's going to be very well thought out if we do it and when we do it.
Yeah, and I didn't think there was ever any concern about that. If anything, it just sounds more exciting that, okay, in addition to, spin outs and uplistings, there's also suddenly the potential for acquisitions on the table. So I think everyone looks at it more as a positive thing, that's for sure.
On the new reality of where we are as a company. That's what the take home is.
Peter has always loved the fact that you take the time to look. Last time we had the great Q&A. People love that. We did the video Q&A. Now we're sitting here doing a Beyond the Press release based on the quarter. I've asked my questions. I'll leave the last 45 seconds to you or so. What's your message to everybody, and how should everybody feel going forward?
I always like to thank my team and my investors. There's a lot of investors out there who, even in the darkest days, would send me emails trying to give me confidence to get up out of bed and continue the march, and I thank them very much. And the team is a very unique team, and I'm the face sometimes. I get out here, I'm on Agoracom, I do interviews, but there's a really, really phenomenal team behind me. A lot of them are quite wealthy now as a result. They're not going to
Microsoft. Everyone understands what it feels like to have been the first employees at Microsoft, I guess.
Yeah, that's the kind of feeling. They're not going to go anywhere, so no one has to worry about that. I mean, they're not going to go garden when they can work here, and they're so connected here. But I can't yell at them anymore, George. I can't yell at them anymore. So I have to develop a new style. But no, I thank my team and the investors. And it's nice to hear from investors, George, at this particular time for PyroGenesis to have evolved the way it has at this particular time is especially satisfying, because apparently there are many people out there who had their retirement savings in the marketplace and their kids' school funds in the marketplace, and when it tanked, it all went down with them. But PyroGenesis, in many cases, has been the stock who has turned so green that they have their retirement funds and their school funds again back in order. And the type of emotional emails I get is very satisfying at this particular time. So thank you for those. And in terms of going forward, it has never looked so good.
And I'll say the same thing. A lot of Agoracom members, a lot of Agoracom friends of Agoracom who have been shareholders the last 2-3 years, believing. Back then, if you remember, I said the Elon Musk of the small cap world, and you know he's there's a while where you got away from that when he went a little crazy, but now he's got a stock that's sitting, $1,500 a share or whatever he's at. So,
Yeah.
but the bottom line is they followed, they believed, and they're really happy today. And more importantly, they're looking forward to the next couple of years. No one's anxious to go anywhere.
Yeah. Step by step, conservatively move forward, build upon what we've done in the past, and we continue to do what we do conservatively, successfully, and well thought out. That's what we try to do.
Peter, thanks for being here. I get a feeling we're going to have you back soon because you've got several irons in the fire, right?
Thanks a lot.
So I get a feeling, but as always, much appreciate you take the time out to talk to everybody, and I know everyone appreciates that at home.
Look forward to talking to you again.
You've been watching, or maybe if you've been listening by podcast on Spotify, Apple, Google, and so on. Peter Pascali, President CEO of PyroGenesis Canada, trades on the TSX Venture Exchange under the stock symbol PYR. For our friends in the US under PYRNF, and for our friends in Frankfurt under 8PY. Hey, you've watched what you've had to say. You've heard what he's had to say. So hopefully you continue to do your due diligence. If you're a former shareholder, longtime shareholder, you're really happy. And if you're a new shareholder, welcome to this podcast. Welcome to what was going to be one of many, many more of these, and helping you stay informed. Thanks, everyone. Have a fantastic day. Talk to you next time.